I was making money. I was getting clients, but then in sessions and treatments, things kind of slow down, and people are like, okay, like they're picking up the skills, things are getting better, and then they're like, okay, I think I'm good. Like I can stop treatment now. I can stop therapy, and I'm just like, oh, I got to keep this up.
Hmm.
I had to bank on social media to figure that out. And while I was great on social media for social reasons,
Yeah, yeah.
doing it for business reasons was really tough for me.
Hmm.
And it took this many years, what, 3 years to understand that that's just not me.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, hello. Today's episode, we have a special guest, Ashley Alahakoon. She is a dear friend and honestly like a little sister to me. She is a licensed mental health counselor and founder of Empowered Minds Mental Health Counseling in Westchester, New York. In her practice, she empowers women to overcome their battles through movement, faith, and finding their inner fire. She's really helping women break generational traumas through her work. And the story that we have here today, she sheds her light and her take on why that's such an important mission for her at this time. Spirituality and faith is a huge component of this episode. She gives us the step by steps of how she was able to build her own private practice after so many years of trying and finally gaining the confidence to go ahead and do that. It's such a motivational episode with so much insight and just love and warmth. And I really hope that you guys enjoy. All right, without further ado, please enjoy. Hello, lady.
Hey.
Hi, I'm so excited to have you on today's episode. We're going to get into some juicy things and really just learn from your experience of the things that you've had to do in your career and in your personal growth and journey to get you to where you're at today.
Yes. Drew, I'm a business owner.
You're a whole business owner. Like for
Yeah,
real, for real.
for real, for real. I mean, I've always been a business owner. I keep telling myself that, but this is like the real deal.
Yeah, like it's coming to full fruition. You have your own practice.
I know, it's so crazy. The place and everything. I don't have any job to back me up. This is it.
It's been a working it's been a long time coming.
Yes, absolutely. 1,000%. Um,
Yeah.
we started what, like 2020, I want to say. I was one of your first
I'm
members.
thinking I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the name that I had at the get your money.
Get some money.
But side note, for anyone that doesn't know. So I run a program called the Entrepreneur's Mind Reset. But before it was called that, in my early days of titling my own programs, I thought it was cool to use gym as an acronym because I was always into fitness, as is Ashley. And it was like, get your money, get right, get tight, let's get this money in the bank program.
It
And
was
actually,
creative.
yeah, so anywho, so it's been a long time coming since 2020. Yes, you did take my course
Mhm.
of how to do all things entrepreneurship, and it's just been, I think that's beautiful because it's 2023,
Yeah.
right? And now it's fully in fruition, and it's a real timeline of
Mhm.
that things like this take time. And we'll get into it. I'm sure you have so much to teach us. Like entrepreneurship and just being a leader in this form is so much more than just knowing the ins and outs of business.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think the patience was the hardest thing for me. Because there will be times, obviously, in the beginning, it was all hot and popping. Um, clients were coming my way. I was making extra cash on the side. But then, with business comes waves, right? So
Yep.
it's not always hot and popping. And I took those more shallow waves as like, oh shit, I'm failing. This is not for me, things like that. So it was a lot of like mindset work that you obviously taught in that program, but I didn't take until like now, I want to say. And a lot of mindset work, a lot of patience and confidence in your own, like what you can provide, right? Like your own
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah. I think, thank you for your honesty. I think that that is such an important part of learning, right?
Hmm.
Like sometimes we receive things, and this could also go spiritual too, which we're going to talk about. Sometimes we will receive information, downloads, insight, education that is very useful, but we're just not in a place where we can utilize it at that time,
Hmm.
right? What I've always shared is that usually, me being type A, I tend to attract people that are just like me, that were very, ambitious, high achievers. I want to do all the things,
Hmm.
and we want to know the answers, usually due to fear and control and rigidness. And it's like, if I just tell me exactly what to do and I will do that, and then we can be successful and everything will work out great, And one of the biggest things in my entrepreneurship programs and when I'm coaching entrepreneurs is that what you just stated. You want the one, two, threes and all the things, but what you really need is mindset work to get
Yeah.
you through the tough times. Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually the other day is that I think we're programmed to be like that, right? In school, in college. We even went through it with like sorority work and stuff. Like,
Yep.
just tell me what to do, I'll do it, and then I'll succeed, right? Study for the test, you take the test, succeed. Hold the event, do it this way because I did this way and it worked out, and succeed, right?
Yeah.
And while there were moments of a little bit of change that you could bring to those experiences, for the most part, it was really just give me the formula and then I'll find the solution. And
Yeah.
then post college, it's like, well, you're on your own now. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like, what do you do after college? What's like, what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So like tell us about your mission and vision for your business.
Hmm.
What's the name of it and what's the driving force that makes you get up and I see it. I see your growth energetically, even on as simple as your stories when you're
Hmm.
talking about it. Look at this. For anyone that's watching us on YouTube, look at this background. Like this is her office. She has a full couch and you have a whole office. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very much you. And I know that that was a part of your journey too, to figure out what you wanted,
Yes.
right? And what was in alignment for you. So give us, the title of your company, of your practice, and what's the vision behind it?
Yeah, so I am the founder of Empowered Minds Mental Health Counseling. And my passion, my force in the business is to really help women, which I've also been back and forth about, right? No hate to the men, love you guys. But really just empowering women to make their own decisions, find themselves, aside from all the like busyness of the outside world and looking within, and build up that confidence to be like, this is my decision. I'm gonna make it, and I know what I'm doing for myself. And if it falls through, then that's okay. And if it works out, then
Mm,
beautiful. But I want them to make that decision.
yeah. Why is that your mission? How is that? Why is that so close to your heart?
For a number of reasons, I definitely grew up in a family who instilled gender roles, and
Mm,
I'm not sure what kind of fire lit up inside me during college, but I was like, that's bullshit. And we can be whoever we want to be. And I
mm,
don't I don't want women to be so anti male that they're like, I'm gonna become that male. I think there's a balance, of course. And that's what I teach in therapy. But I want them to make that decision themselves on what they want to do. If it's gender roles, great. I didn't like that for myself, right? But
Yeah.
if it's gender roles, cool. If it's not, cool. It's whatever you want. But yeah, definitely like growing up within gender roles and college changed a lot for me.
Yeah. Can you tell us more like your personal story of what that was growing up in your household and like what gender roles look like? And I know you personally on many different levels. So, I'm looking to hear also of like your transformation in the mix of the emotions of just living your life, of what
Mhm.
that was like for you, of learning like, oh, things are supposed to be this way, and then you getting angry of like, nah, F that, I'm not trying to do that. Like your whole evolution, what was that like for you?
So growing up, again, gender roles, the basics. My brother and my dad worked outside on Saturdays. Me and my mom cleaned inside on Saturdays. Um, Women cleaned, cooked. The men do the hard stuff outside.
Hmm.
And I think naturally, I'm a very independent person, and it took a lot out of me to learn and understand this. But my dad also taught me to be very strong and um, independent. And I always
Hmm.
thought that he was like going against that growing up. He's like, no, you need me and you need a man in your life kind of thing. But it really wasn't the case. But I was going against it a
Mm.
lot. So I became very anti male throughout growing up. And my mom always taught me to work your way around, how do I say this? Like almost manipulate the situation to get what you
Hmm.
need. And I kind of took that too directly.
Mm.
Until recently, I was like, no, she means be so confident in your word that you can get what you want. As long as you're confident, that's all you need, right? And,
Mm.
my dad always taught me that you don't need anybody, and I'm going to teach you that. But it took a lot. So I was very anti-male. I was very like, men are the worst, and I'm gonna be the male. I was very like male
Masculine.
energy,
Hmm.
very masculine. And I didn't even want to touch the feminine side of myself, even though it kept coming in. I was like, no, right? And I took a lot of healing, a lot of inner work to understand that I love my feminine side. I love my soft side. And it's okay to depend on people. And I think growing up, it was really hard to depend on others because there's expectations and then a risk of people not showing up for those expectations.
Mm.
Mm.
So a lot of fear
Yeah.
behind like this hyper independence
Mm.
of and it's interesting because you're as you're sharing, you're also telling us that your perspectives have shifted, that
Mhm.
your experience as a younger girl growing up in that household, not that it was skewed, it was your interpretation of what was happening, but as you got older, you're able to see that, like, yeah, that wasn't really their intention, or that's not actually how it fully went down. And there was some inner work to be done there in order to see that clearly at this time.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it's all about like uh, continuing patterns that your parents have done, like generational trauma, all the things, right?
Hmm.
And I've always known I was the chosen one to
Hmm. It's
break those
powerful.
barriers, right? Break those chains in my
Yeah.
family. I just didn't know it at the time,
Hmm.
or what it took to do that. Because I always knew there was something
Hmm.
in me that was like, this is not mine. I don't know why I feel this way. But there were definitely some patterns that I continued, um, especially with men that I'm like that needed to break. That chain needed to break for sure.
Let's talk about that because I think sometimes we feel that if you're aware, if you're on a healing journey and you're aware of the things that have to be stopped in order to propel us and our families forward for future generations as well,
Mhm.
you sometimes get, and this is a very spiritual thing, you sometimes get that feeling and that insight of like, it's me. Like, I am the chosen one. I am supposed to rid this karmic debt, if you will, of like this reoccurring pattern, an energetic leak, if you may, that keeps happening within our family household. It's probably happened before my parents, and it's been gathered for so many years. And I strongly feel that I'm the one that's supposed to break this.
Hmm. That's tough. Oh, it's so hard. And I actually, like, I always say that God brings clients into my room that show things that I either already went through, or things that I
Mhm.
have to look into for myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I guess I got to work on that because, right? And more often than not, I'm seeing clients who are those people who need to break chains. And they're like, they know that they're
Mm.
in this. Like, I have a client who is in a really toxic relationship. And the first thing she told me when I met her was, Ashley, I need to stop in this relationship. I need to break up. I need to get out of it. Um, and there was like a lot of emotional abuse and things like that. But she was like, I've been trying, and I just know I need to leave. And we came to the realization that all the women in her family in generations before her have done the same thing, but they've never left. They
Mm.
just stayed in the chaos, right? And I told her about the generational patterns, and she was like, "Oh, damn." I'm like, "But do you believe that you're the person that needs to stop it?" I was like, "I guess so, because I'm the one
Mm.
that's trying to get out of it." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I think to know whether or not you're that person is to understand, what are you trying to do about that situation? Are you trying to leave? Are you trying to stop it? Do you know that this is bad and you're just like, I just like the comfort anyway? Then
Mm.
maybe you're just not that person. But if you're like, nah, I need to, like, something's got to give. I need to change something. And maybe you're that person.
Wow, that radical honesty, because you can,
Yeah.
because it's fair and it's okay that if you're truly assessing, do I know that it's bad,
Hmm.
and am I understanding that I am staying here, and there's no judgment, right? Everyone has their own path in their healing journey. Or are you noticing that it's bad and you do feel this fight within, whether it's anger or like fed up or whatever may have you, that like, this is it. This has got to stop, and I'm going to be the one to do it. I might be fearful. I might be scared shitless, but this is my path to do at
Hmm.
this time. And it's funny because I love interviewing people, truly, because as you and I are very close, we've worked together in many different facets.
Hmm.
And this is new insight for me, for you, that this is really like a soulful calling of yours, because you've had to do that within your family and within your own life. And so it only makes sense that energetically, spiritually, God is gifting you these clients to
Hmm.
do just that. So I feel so happy and proud for you, because as I'm looking at you, with your background and your beautiful couch and pictures behind you, I'm like, holy, yeah, literally, I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap, like Ashley's really living in her purpose, and it
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. When you do what you want or do what you love, you don't work a day in your life, for real. And that's not to say that there's like no bad days, obviously, but um yeah, I love this work, and it comes to me very naturally, and very passionately. Like, I see these women, I'm like, oh, I just want to help you so bad. I want to like give you all the answers right now. And obviously,
Mhm.
um knowledge overload, but so I don't do that. But yeah, it's definitely a passion of mine, for sure.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So tell us about your growth and transformation within your business specifically,
Hmm.
and how that's helped you get to where you're at today.
Oh, girl. So it all started with Jim.
Get
Real
your
life.
money. Well, no. Well, okay, this is business aside, but thank you for being the pioneer for many of my first programs, because you were also the first in the first cohort for the Mind Reset program.
Yes. Hmm. So lots of mindset stuff that I truthfully did not take on with me until recently. But I held on to it. So if you guys got it, if you ever went through one of her programs and you got the stuff, look back at it because maybe look back at it. But um, it might be useful now. So I definitely take on all of the lessons now that I'm ready to receive it.
Hmm.
And maybe that's something that you need to ask yourself if you're thinking about a program or thinking about therapy or whatever it is am I ready to make changes? Am I ready to make sacrifices in order for a better future for myself?
Hmm.
I don't think I was ready. I think I was comfortable. I think that it sounded great, but like what was I really getting myself into, you know?
Hmm.
So so I started off with that, and then I was seeing clients, maybe like a handful of clients on the side in my business, but I was also working in community mental health for about 3 years, and that was insane.
Hmm.
I had like 40 to 50 clients on my caseload, which is the normal rate. If you don't
Right.
know, it's like
Yeah.
20 to 25.
Yeah.
um,
But let's just be also honest, and like the field of mental health and social work and psychotherapy, it is prone to burnout
yeah.
because of that, because that happens often.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember my first job in the field. I literally found this. I started my job at the time in January. I had graduated that December. So literally like 2 weeks after graduation, which obviously like I was raised in a high achieving family, like the high achieving style of
Yeah.
parenting.
Mm.
And so having this job was like awesome. I got a job right out of school. This is amazing. I literally just took whatever was given to me, truthfully. I didn't spend a lot of time just like looking into it. But so I came across a lot of great people who were ready to work on their own issues, but then I was also coming across a lot of people who were very comfortable, which can cause a lot of burnout because these people in community
Mm.
mental health, they have
Mm.
a lot of trauma, right? And it's heavy work. Trauma's heavy work. And if you're new to the field, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know how to manage it. Um,
Mhm.
and much like, we tell clients that trauma lives within your body, it can go to other people's bodies too, right?
Yeah.
So yes, as counselors, we receive that and we feel it and we have to do our own healing before, after, whatever the case is, our own self-care to make sure that we're not holding on to that either. But
Mm.
so imagine what, like, maybe 30 to 35 sessions a week
Yeah.
with that kind of caseload.
Yeah. Can I tell you? So that's so, when I too began with that background of seeing a crazy amount of clients in a week's time, and still being my, at that time, unconscious, like well, I knew I was an overachiever, but I didn't know why, in the beginning of my career. And I just wanted to make everybody proud and do the most that I could and make my supervisors like, I'm the best on the team. Like, I'm seeing the most clients, I'm closing the most people, like, and it was just like that same energy everywhere I went. But
Mhm.
within counseling, yes, yes, you're holding people at their most vulnerable state, and energetically, that's insane. That therapists are amazing individuals, and normally therapists go into this work to help people. So being young, graduated from college, getting a job right off firsthand like you did, it sets you up, I don't want to say for failure, but it stumps you,
Yeah.
right? Because you go into this field to help people, then you're like, holy crap, there's so much trauma that people are
Mhm.
um experiencing, and I'm trying to help them navigate, but a lot of them don't want to navigate through
Mhm.
that, right? Whether it's, if it's community health, whether they're being forced into it. There's just so many dynamics of like the system and oppressions, and you're also
Yeah.
learning about so much injustice, and you're like, it makes you angry, and it makes you feel like you don't really have a voice, and how can I really make a difference? And then add that to the burnout, because then you're only one person, And
Right.
so, how are you really going to do all these things? And when I first transferred over into the coaching world, I remember being with a bunch of colleagues who didn't know anything of this world because we're coming from the clinical side of things. And they're like individuals who are very much in tune with their spirit, which you and I now are better in that realm as well.
Yeah.
And they would ask me how. My coach at that time was like, how the hell do you see more than 10 people a week? How was that? Literally, like, people were dumbfounded by the amount of people that I would see on a weekly basis. And for me, I was like, it was a lack of knowingness for me of like
Yeah.
that was, I don't want to say it's unhealthy because obviously therapists might be listening to this and doing this right now. But when you do tap into the energetic work of what it is that you're really doing, there's a lot of energy that you're touching on a daily, weekly basis.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
don't think, go ahead, Curly.
Um, Honestly, I know a lot of therapists are doing that, and I want to have you ask yourself, at what session am I really being helpful? Like, is it the
Mm,
fourth session? Is it the fifth session? I used to have 12 sessions a day, a day. And
mhm.
I knew myself at like the sixth session, I was tapped out. I was done. And
Yeah.
that's even now saying six sessions, the sixth session, that's crazy to me. I
Hmm.
can't even do that now because it's so energetically um draining, right?
Hmm.
That are you just listening and you're just like, mm-hmm,
Hmm.
right? Or are you actually giving feedback? Are you doing real work?
Right.
And then that creates a poor experience for the client. And I have a bunch of clients that come into my space and they're like, "Listen, the last therapist I had, she just yesed me to death."
Yup.
And I was like, "I get you, and it's not your fault. It's not their fault. Like, it's just the system."
It's the
Uh,
system. Hmm.
that was just a little side note for therapists out there. Like, be
Yeah.
real with
Yeah.
yourself. Like, at what session are you really just tapping out?
That's really good. It's really good advice and a really good question because, yeah. And we're sharing because there is another way. And like,
Hmm.
I'm looking at you, Ash, and it's like, yeah, you're leading with purpose now. And the clients that you are attracting
Hmm.
are your ideal clients that you absolutely love to help. And when you have that energetic rapport and love
Yeah.
for it's not that your people prior to you didn't love, but there was just so many walking through the door. How could you possibly have a connection with every single one of them?
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
we didn't have especially in community mental health, we did not have a choice.
Right.
It wasn't like preference on age, on gender, on situation. It was just like whoever comes, you
Whoever
take them.
comes.
Yeah.
Literally, whoever comes, and if I never dealt with this kind of thing before, problem, issue, there I was with my book, with my DSM-5 or my note of like,
Mhm.
okay, like, let me, and it's just,
Yep. And they don't deserve that.
yeah.
No one deserves that, right? Everyone deserves to have quality therapy, quality
Hmm.
support. Um, But yeah. Oh my God, I just had a side note. A thought. I also interned with you.
You did. Yo, we've been at the hip, low key. Oh
Low
my
key.
God.
I just
Yes, you did. You know what's funny? As we were talking, I was like, oh my God, Ashley was also my co coach for the Mind Reset program. Like, I forgot about that because we've done so much together. I'll say that probably on a spiritual sense, we're most likely, what do they call it? Um, Soulmates of some sort, but like not, of course, not romantically, but in the sense of that we return to this world, many times after, and you're someone that continues to be in my circle.
yeah, I love that.
Mm,
That's so
aw.
funny. I was just thinking about that. Me just like running around in that office.
In the car, you would pick up the clients.
Like
Yes.
the scan. Oh my God. I can't believe you guys made me do that.
I didn't do that. It was the company. Anywho, so clearly, so
Anyway.
yes, me and Ashley have worked together in many facets, and I've literally gotten firsthand witness to your growth.
Yeah.
And
There we go.
okay, so let's get back on track.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
So community
So
mental.
Yes, mental health, burnout, your growth and exploration within your own career and how it's led you to where you're at today.
Yeah, so I totally remember like month 3. Also, just on top of all that trauma that I was talking about, it was COVID, March 2020. So I
Bro.
started February 2020 or January 20 yeah, January 2020, and then March 2020 we went on the lockdown. And they were
Hmm.
like, I don't know if you guys don't know this, but telehealth was not a thing
Right.
before.
Beforehand. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like, not only do you have to figure out how to work with clients, now you have to figure out how to work with clients on the screen.
Right. And
And
all the HIPAA that we were scared of, that we were violating, and all this stuff. Yes.
recording, clients were like recording sessions. It was like a mess, a mess.
Yeah.
So there was a lot that I needed to navigate. And then while trying to navigate that, I was like, yeah, let me try and build a private practice on the
Yeah.
side.
Actually, I want to talk about that. So I want to talk about the beauty of, I don't want to say failure, but the beauty of doing the wrong thing, right?
Hmm.
That wasn't serving you. So here Ashley was super eager, to do something more for herself, but not having clarity on what that was going to be for her. And we all go through, I went through that. We all go through that at some point of our lives. We have leaders and mentors and we're just like, I want to be like that. And I want to do it like this. And they're doing it this way. So let me do that. And so the journey and all the courses that you took, even outside of my own, we're all there to give you support and understanding, even if you didn't fully take it in. And I want to talk about, even though you were quote unquote successful, I remember doing a testimonial video about you because after you did my program, you added, I believe it was 1,600 to your monthly revenue.
Hmm.
And so as a beginner, you were super young. As a beginner therapist, I was like, yo, this girl is killing it, right? I was like, post program, like
Yeah.
she's doing the damn thing. Because you were, but there's nothing wrong with that. And even in your successes, you learn that like this isn't for me.
Yeah. Um, I think I took that as like I don't know, like a knife to the gut. I was like, oh, this has to be for me because this was always a dream, right?
Mm,
And you know that, like, going into college, having my own business was always the dream. Um, I just didn't know if it was like a mental health counseling. I didn't go into school for therapy, but anyways. Um, so yes, I was making money. I was getting clients, but then in sessions and treatments things kind of slow down and people are like, okay, like they're picking up the skills, things are getting better, and then they're like, okay, I think I'm good, like I can stop treatment now, I can stop therapy, and I'm just like, oh, I got to keep this up.
mhm. Oh,
And I
I
didn't have to
see.
do
Yeah.
that in community mental health because they were either staying for the long run or um, there were
Mhm.
more, right? So I had to bank on social media to figure that out. And while I was great on social media for social reasons,
Yeah, yeah.
doing it for business reasons was really tough for me.
Mm.
And it took this many years, what, 3 years to understand that that's just not me. That's
Mhm,
just not me, and that's
mhm.
okay. I get clients my own way, which is like face to face interaction,
Networking.
networking, meeting people, word of mouth, things like that. I kind of let my skills do the referring for me,
Mhm,
if you
mhm.
will. But yeah, I have a hard time with social media.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think too, like that influx, that high of like, oh my God, I have so many clients and um uh, as a business owner, you have to continue to cast a wide net for referrals to continue to come in, whether that's through word of mouth, and you'll learn as you're growing in your own entrepreneurship. Social media or not, it takes consistent, not revenue, consistent like motion,
Yeah.
to keep clients coming in. And yeah, you learn that the social media space was not for you.
You know. And it's like still kind of a rough time for me. I don't solely base my referrals off of social media, but I do like to like put things out there to because I know people are looking, right? Like, let me check out
Hmm.
this girl on Instagram real quick to see
Yeah.
if like she's the person I want to work with, right? And so I want to put things out there, and I still have a little bit of a hard time with that because like, do you know what you're talking about? Is it clear enough for people to understand what you're talking about? Um,
Mm,
and it's just like me putting myself out there for people to like or dislike things. And sometimes I'm in a good space where I'm like, who cares? And then other
mm.
days I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's a great mirror reflection too. So, what I've learned in my business, I most definitely social media was the start of where my business is today, and now I too am doing more networking events and more face to face and more speaking engagements, and obviously
Mhm.
now we have this podcast and things of that sort. So
Yeah.
what I see social media as, and it is most definitely not for everybody. But what I see social media or any avenue where you're putting yourself out there in networking events or speaking engagements, whatever you're doing, I see it as a devotional practice,
Hmm.
spiritual also, of like how confident are you in your messaging.
Mm.
And there's also like different ways to serve people. Like, for example, you could put, for a therapist, you could put your stuff in Psychology Today and gain referrals that way, and that's
Yeah.
fine. You don't ever have to
Yeah.
speak into a camera. It's more so whatever's comfortable for you. But
Hmm.
whatever avenue you're doing to be seen, it's a practice of devotion. Of okay, how much can I believe in myself to say time and time again, I am great at what I do. This is who I serve. This is what I offer. And being a business owner allows you the creativity to do whatever the F you want, which is really freeing and igniting and what's the word I'm looking for? Empowering.
Yeah.
And it can also be exhausting
Yes.
and scary.
Yep.
So, regardless, I think any way that you're showing up, when you're a business owner,
Yeah.
you have to be the one that shouts from the top of their lungs, like, I am great at what I do, and this
Mhm.
is who I serve. And egotistically or in your ego, that could feel many, many things, but I also bring it back to spirit, which we're going
Mhm.
to touch into probably next. I always bring it back to spirit of like, well, if this is your dharma, your life's purpose, your soul's calling, God's work for you,
Mhm.
then you have to learn how to train the ego to not get in the way. We honor the ego, all the things, but this is so much bigger than me, and I can't allow my insecurities to get in
Mhm.
the way of serving this greater population and impact I'm supposed to have in the world. And that means me speaking up.
Yeah, for sure. I think boldness is definitely something that I've been able to work on. I think I was always bold, but with the right things is different, right? But yeah, definitely a work in progress. Um I always thought and I that takes the inner work, right? Like I knew that I was really good at communicating or teaching people emotional intelligence or how to build their emotional intelligence in sessions. Because I needed that
Hmm.
feedback. I needed something to work with so that I can help them out. You know what I mean? Versus like social media, no one's talking to me. So I'm like, what do
Hmm.
I give you?
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Yes.
Right. So, but that took a lot of inner work to
Mm.
figure out like, why is it confidence? It's a little bit of confidence, but for the most part, it's like, what do I give people? What are they asking for if I can't hear them?
Mm.
So I work a lot better in the dialect than in just speaking.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Hmm.
And like said prior, like I'm happy that you learned that about yourself because look at where you're at now because of it.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. So super inspiring. I think like if anyone has tried something and it didn't work, or yeah, like tried something and it didn't work, and it's like, yeah, it's still information learned.
Hmm.
And you're learning more about yourself and what's not working for you.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm ever. I think I was scared to fail going back to that failure conversation, and now I'm just like, you learn from it, and that's the only way you'll grow, right? Is through mistakes.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm less afraid to make those mistakes. I'm like, well, if it doesn't work, then we just pivot. That's it. And I
Hmm.
think that's the freeing part about having your own business. It's like you don't have anyone to talk to, so or speak to. So it's like, well, but if it doesn't work, then we can just try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us more about your faith journey and how that's grown and evolved and really been an asset to you as a person, but also to your business.
Yeah. So I grew up in a Catholic church, but I wouldn't say it necessarily taught me a relationship with God, how to have a relationship with God. It wasn't until last year I got baptized. So maybe like 2 years ago, I started going to church again in a different church, non-denominational, and
Question. Question. Were you baptized as a young girl in your Christian church?
in the Catholic church.
Sorry, in the Catholic Church. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
So
you
I
got
just
baptized again as an adult.
yeah, yeah. So I did all my sacraments. Like it was really just like a routine, very religious.
Mm.
And while again, like the anti male mindset that I
Hmm.
had, it also fell into the religion too. So I didn't see any
Mm.
females up on the pulpit,
Podium.
right?
Hmm.
I didn't see any female leadership, right? So it wasn't for me. And there were and just for a multitude of reasons. So I stopped going when I went to college. Um, and things got crazy. But I always felt that God was calling me to come back. I just didn't know it at the time. Like there were moments where I was like in a really toxic relationship and I had the feeling of like I just want to go to church.
Hmm.
And there was like a back and forth in that toxic relationship, obviously. And then I asked the person, I was like, hey, like in the moment that we were good, it was like, can we go to church together? Like I really need to go to church. And that person was like, what? Like, no, absolutely not,
Hmm.
whatever, right? So I ended up not going. And there were moments like that. Like I just like kind of just want to go back, you know? And then one of my friends asked me to go to back to church day. It's like this national day. Everyone goes back to church. If you haven't been there for a long time or whatever the case may be. And that wasn't until 2 years ago. So I was like, sure, why not? Let me go. And since then, like the rest has been history. I saw women in leadership. I saw um, people who had a relationship with God, and it was just a whole different experience for me. Um, and then honestly, like I got saved last year. Um, there was a situation like a lot of my traumas came up that
Hmm.
this a woman that came up to me in church. She obviously didn't know me, didn't like know anything about me, and she brought up all my traumas in front of me, and I was like, huh, okay.
Wow.
And she just like prayed over me, and that's like the
Wow.
day I was saved, yeah. And she was just telling me like, God is taking you under his wing, and he's like, don't be mad at him for what happened to you. Just know that that's gonna help you shape other lives and things like that. And I was like, okay.
Wow. And
All right.
this woman that came up to you, she was just a regular person of the church and she wasn't in like any of the leadership things.
She was in leadership, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I had just started going there, so I didn't know anybody. I was like in the corner just going.
Yeah.
um,
But I
and
mean, that's a gift, right?
mhm,
That's a gift to be able to sense that and speak into you and
mhm,
almost provide alleviation and some sense of comfort in the darkness that you were experiencing at that time.
mhm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I think
so go ahead.
I think that's when my relationship with God started.
Mm.
It was always like for me growing up, it was like, yeah, you believe in God, God loves you, like the basics. You're like, yeah, okay, like,
Mm,
Jesus, all the things. But my relationship with God now is like, he loves you and he
mm.
knows you and all the things, right? Um, I'm getting emotional, but yeah, I think that has helped me throughout my journey in this business. I'm trying not to cry. I'm like
It's okay if you cry.
down my head.
Okay.
Yeah, I think after that, I understood. And obviously, like I've had my ups and downs with my faith. It's like a work in progress, of course.
Yeah.
But for a long time, like my tests, right? Like the licensure,
Yes.
that was rough. It took me 6 times. 6 times. And like I said, I don't like failure. High
Mm-hmm.
achieving, parenting style, all the things. So that trauma came up for me, right? Like my mom, there was a time where my mom said to me that I was a disgrace to the Alahakoon name because because I couldn't pass a Regents test, and it was like I'm sure she always says it now, like I didn't mean it like that. And I'm like I know, but
Stung,
obviously,
it stung then though, but
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
So as I was failing these tests, that's all I kept hearing,
Mm.
right? And now I know that I was failing those tests because God knew that I was gonna have this business shortly after I passed the test, and I wasn't ready to have a business.
Mm.
Um, so I kept
Wow.
failing, but I wasn't listening, and I wasn't praying on it and all the things. But patience is a virtue.
That's beautiful. So yeah, I remember like being with you as a friend of like, yeah, like Ashley keeps failing these tests and I'm like, it's gotta be her nerves. Like, I don't know what's going on. And obviously you know your stuff and you're an amazing counselor. At that time, you were also helping me co-coach for the Mind Reset program. And all of our clients had fantastic things to say about you. So it was never a question of like, is she good at like, no, it's just like she just can't pass the paper test. But
Hmm.
now with your insight that God was preparing you or holding off because you weren't yet ready to be in business,
Yeah.
um, what was the turnover that made you prepared for business?
I think when I started my new job in a private practice, which
Mm-hmm.
again, that was God, right? Because I think I told you, it literally just fell in my lap. I wasn't looking for a job.
She was
You
your
were with
therapist. She was your
me.
therapist. She offered you a job. Yeah.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
with you when I accepted it. Actually, yeah, I was over there.
Oh, yes. You were visiting me.
Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes,
and I was
yes.
like, "Oh, should I do it? I don't know. I feel loyal to this community mental health and
Yeah.
whatever."
And I was like, doses.
Yeah, you're like, "No, girl." um, But yeah, again, like God, right? I wasn't looking. I was in therapy, working on myself. I had graduated from therapy, just for all the therapists listening. I graduated. We had ended the therapeutic relationship.
Oh, yes.
Um, and she was like, "Hey Ash, I know this is, kind of weird. But I would love for you, because I had always talked about work there. And she's like, I would love for you to, come with me to my private business, my private practice as a therapist." And I was like, what? And I wasn't looking for a job, which is so crazy to me. And this job gave me like a 20 to 30 grand increase from that community mental health. And I was like,
Mm,
what is happening? So I took it, thanks to Jew. I took it, and I learned all the ropes of a private
mhm,
practice.
mhm,
I learned
mhm,
everything. I was her first employee in her private practice, and we grew it. I became a supervisor after I passed my test, and Yeah, we grew it to have like I think 12 clinicians.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
And
lot.
we had groups and all the things. So I learned the back ends, like how to run a business. I learned how to be a supervisor. I learned how to work with clients who weren't super what's the word?
Motivated.
Who weren't super motivated, who were super motivated, and it was like a more calming atmosphere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And learning that that works too, right? You don't have to like drill in every minute of your day with sessions, and you'll
Right.
be okay. Yeah, so I learned all of that. I think that was a turnover for me. It's just okay. I have the skills now to run a business. I think now I can pass this test, hopefully, right? Um, and I think my relationship with God built enough where I literally went into the test. All the 5 times that I went into the test, I was like, please, 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 like, please, God, make this work out. And then when it didn't work out, I was like angry. I was like crying, all the things,
Mm,
right? But this sixth time, I was like, you know what? Like, if it doesn't happen, I understand, and I know that there's bigger things for me in the
mm.
end. And if this is not for me, then this will be the last test, and I'll just pray on something else, you know,
Wow.
pray for something else,
Surrendering.
surrendering. And I literally, mind you, I literally failed the test the 5 times by 1 point.
Mm.
Each time. So
And when you
crazy.
passed?
Flying colors.
Wow.
Hmm. So,
Wow.
yep.
That's beautiful. Wow. Like, thank you for sharing that with us. I feel that, this is a good inside look of like the journey to growth and success, whatever that is for you. It's not always pretty and it has a lot of roundabouts and turns that you're in the moment. You're not sure why this is happening. And you
Hmm.
might be angry and frustrated. And at the end of the day, the message is that you're always being held, loved, and protected.
Hmm.
And it's a
Yep.
matter of you surrendering and really tapping in and believing in that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the moment I surrendered was when everything just flowed in. Yep.
Well, that's a lesson right there. All right, girly. I'm going to ask one last question. What's something in your life now? It could be anywhere, romantic, professional, interpersonal, that you're struggling with right now. And yeah, you'd like to talk it through.
Mm. I didn't know this was about personal too.
It could be anything. Literally, it's
Ooh.
whatever your heart desires, girly.
Okay. I'm having a really hard time. My boyfriend is going to kill me.
Oh
um,
no. Yes, let's get into it.
I'm talking about surrendering, right? I'm having a really hard time with um not being engaged and moving on in that
Okay.
route. I think
Okay.
the biggest not fear, but like I don't know, thought right now is that I have all this time now because I have a business. I literally have a bunch of time on my hands. This could be great for getting pregnant, having kids, but of course, I need to be married first for myself.
Yeah.
So when is this ring coming in? And I've
Mm.
never had to wait on anyone before to move to the next chapter in my life.
Wow. Wow. That's a big one. Okay. So let me just tell you what I'm like observing and picking up. And thank you for being so open and vulnerable with us. So, as you guys have been listening, Ashley is most definitely a go getter,
Mhm,
right? And she kind of moves life in her own wins. And so, and this whole history of being kind of anti man and all the things. So, it seems like you've done a lot of growth in, like being able to be in a heterosexual relationship, right, where there's a man and woman, and like it's not that you're surrendering to him, but you're allowing for both genders and parts to play a role, right?
mhm,
And so in your case, we're waiting on marriage. You've been together with him for some time now. Things are going well, and you're still battling with this inner control that comes from our anxiety, right? Our ego of like, the perfect time is now. I have a business. I have clients. Life is much easier now. I'm making more money,
Yeah.
right? Like, knock
So
me up. Like, the time is now. Like, so, bringing humor into this. But yes, like that is so, we often experience no matter where we go, there we are. And even though you're nowhere near where you were 5, 7, 8 years ago,
mhm,
there's still old parts of Ashley that still come up as like the fighter and the one that needs control and the ones that doesn't necessarily trust.
mhm,
Even though we were just shown that we're always held, loved, and protected, there's like many parts of us that there's a side of you that knows that God is protecting you and you're on the best plan possible. And that is very much true. And then the human part of ourselves, which I always reference to, like we have our spiritual side and we have our human side, that's
mhm,
still struggling with human things, which is completely a part of the plan and a part of life's journey. And
yeah.
so I would ask you, girly, what part of you is desiring control at this time, and why are you not trusting him, your boyfriend,
Mhm.
and God in the universe, to play out as it's supposed to be?
What was the first question? How much of me?
Why aren't you trusting? We'll just put it, why aren't you trusting him? Why aren't you trusting your boyfriend to make this decision at the right time?
Uh, because I've never had to trust anybody for my life. I never had to trust anyone with my life in my decisions.
And I'm sure you've told him your wants and desires. He knows. He's very much aware. Oh, he
Very much.
knows. Oh, he
He
knows.
knows.
Yeah. So, something that I teach often is like how to better our communication skills. And for me, that really just comes with even more intimacy. And I'm sure, I mean, if you're thinking about marrying the guy, you're obviously very close to him. He's obviously very close to you. There's obviously deep love there, but we can always grow it deeper. And human beings were always changing and evolving. And so this practice has to be done with everybody, my own husband, people that I love, my parents, like it has to happen as often as possible to remain our most authentic self in those relationships,
Mhm.
right? So I'm curious if you've spoken to him about like you honoring him, that this is hard for me to relinquish control and allow you, the male, to make this decision for us. And I think you want that to happen,
Mhm.
but you're struggling with that. And I know he knows you very well, but if you took the time to think about, because of all the things that have happened in my past, my inner child and ego is still very much struggling with the idea that I have to wait for you to make this thing happen for us. And while I do want that to happen, I just need you to know that I'm struggling
Mhm.
and I want to trust you, but I don't know how. And it has nothing to do with you. This is just my own inner battles. And I'm wondering if you've ever had a really in depth conversation with him about that.
I never worded it in that manner. Like this is hard for me to, I guess, trust you or lean on you in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
But we've definitely spoke about it, and he's having his own, um, I guess, like growing pains. We're both having these like growing pains, right?
Yeah.
And again, like we're not ready, and I know that. I think that was I should have prefaced with that.
Okay.
We're not ready, and I know that because there's a lot for both of us to grow on.
Yeah.
One of his things is like he's never had somebody who is willing to sit here and be like, what can I do different to help you out or to love you better? He's never had that. And I've never had to like lean on somebody with um decisions, right? So there's a lot
Yeah.
of territory that we haven't stepped into yet.
Mm.
So again, it's like the patience knowing that, God is like, it ain't it yet. We're not here yet. But I'm getting you there. It's just hard sometimes. Like some days, you go on Instagram, you scroll, and you see like 6 different engagements, and you're like, okay.
We have been seeing a lot of engagements in our inner circle.
Literally. And he knows
Yeah.
it. I'm like, oh, another engagement. Oh, another baby. He's like, okay, tell your friends to stop
Mm.
then.
I'm also wondering if this is a good opportunity for you to lean into your faith even more in this act of surrendering, because we're coming from this hyper independent, anti masculine or male kind of place where you're not at anymore, but old habits are still there and old patterns of thinking are still there. And so
Yeah.
this is an opportunity for you, Ash, to like not be so independent and allow somebody else to take lead, and how that's not a sign of weakness, it's very nurturing.
Mhm.
And you said that you wanted to tap more into your feminine divine energy and all of that, and so that means receiving and not being the one to call the shot. So spiritually, because you guys are in the church and on that journey of spirituality together, could you pray over it with him, asking God, like, please help me relinquish control and allow my partner to come in confidently
Yeah.
and me trust that decision?
Yeah. I could do that. I need to do that for sure. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's like old habits die hard for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but definitely a work in progress. And I think I've also been working on allowing him to come in and lead how he wants to lead. And I've
Mm-hmm.
always said, it's actually really funny. I've always said, like high school, college era, that I will never dim myself down to allow a man to lead. I would always need a man to like lead on top of the
What
leader.
I'm leading. Lead on top of what
Right.
I'm leading.
Like I'm not gonna stoop myself down
Yeah.
because you can't go higher, right? But that was aggressive. So
Yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely entering my soft girl era,
Yeah.
I'll say. But again, old habits die hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last thing I'll say about that is like that is like textbook definition of wounded masculine energy that is within you, right? This idea that like I have to be on top, and even though of course it's not rooted in any malicious intent, it's just our insecurities spewing out of us,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? Which leads to control and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I think. He's come to you at a perfect time. You're leaning into your soft girl era, and that means allowing him to lead. And it's not that we're surrendering; we're a team,
yeah.
and I'm sure he needs that too.
Hmm. Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay. Well, thank you, girly. Thank you for being on this episode. This was so fruitful in so many different ways, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for you. And yeah, like I can't see what you're going to do. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. So thank you
Oh.
for being here. Where can people find you if they want to work with you?
You can find me on Instagram. There's some posts there. You can DM me. It's Empowered Minds, period, by Ashley.
Yeah.
Or you can email me, info.empoweredminds@gmail.com.
Yeah. And I think in the show notes, we're going to have your website there. That's where they
Yes.
could probably find you best.
Yeah, my website.
Yeah.
And Psychology Today, all the things. You can just search my name.
Ah, yeah. All right, girly. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this session and episode, and we can't wait to hear what resonated most for you guys. Until next
Thank
time.
you. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.